go? Great. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here to introduce you to a wonderful man and activist today. I'm Jason Marsden. I'm the Executive Director of the Matthew Shepard Foundation, a privilege I've had these last 7 years to work with Dennis and Judy Shepard and our board and staff and partners and activists all over the country and all over the world in the last few years, promoting respect for one another, understanding, compassion, acceptance. The compassion industry is a small but growing thing out there that I think holds the promise of actually changing the world we live in. And the work that Dennis Shepard and Judy Shepard and our team have been doing these last 18 years since we lost Matt is very much focused on people telling their stories, humanizing our community through the power of individual storytelling, through the coming out experience, through open dialogue, and through not just respect for diversity, but a loving embrace of what diversity offers in our lives and our world. I'm going to show you a little video about the foundation and give you a better sense of what we do, and then I'll introduce the man you've all come to see.
You might want to move over.
Yeah, I'll get out of the way.
No. If you're sitting over there, you may want to move because that podium may block the video.
No, not quite. I love how this never works the way it does when you practice. Fun. Anybody have a sense of why this is playing blue screen? Rewind it and try again. Who knows what to do with the projector to make it work? Okay.
I really don't know this. So you're not getting anything here, are you?
No, it's just. It will show
Oh,
you
here we
every-
go. There you go. That wasn't plugged in.
Okay.
Okay. Let me plug that in too. That looks a little loose. Okay, try that. Let's see what we get here.
Got it? Okay. Is it going to give us any audio? So y'all know what that is. A snowstorm.
No audio.
Yeah, no audio. Okay, well, we're going to skip this part then. Maybe we can. Somebody can check into that. Maybe we can see it before the end of the production. I'll summarize. So the Shepard Foundation was created in the fall of 1998 after Matt's murder here in Laramie that year. Judy and Dennis decided to use their voices to support equality for all people, the LGBTQ community in particular, but everyone who is perceived to be different from other persons' perceived norms. It's had a focus particularly on youth, and we're working in 3 major areas in our programmatic work. One is to support young people in the LGBTQ and allied communities through a website called matthewsplace.com, which is a resource guide and informational and blogging site for people in our community ages 13 to 24, or I like to add, the young at heart. We have at any given time about a dozen young folks from around the country who are blogging about their experiences being part of our community. We do a good deal of work to support productions of the Laramie Project, which of course is the play Tectonic Theater Company created in the year 2000 based on interviews with hundreds of people here in Laramie about how this crime affected people in Laramie and the climate of diversity as well as LGBT people here in Laramie. And finally, we do a good deal of work to try to prevent and better enforce laws against hate crimes. In our country, there are approximately, according to one Department of Justice survey, as many as a couple 100,000 hate crimes every year in the United States of America, more than 2/3 of which are never reported to anyone. A fair percentage of those that are reported are never properly, statistics are never properly collected around them. There's a lot of resources and a lot of goodwill in law enforcement to not only prosecute hate crimes, but create a tolerant atmosphere in which they don't occur anymore. But if we're unable to collect statistics about them and victims feel they're unable to come forward to the police and report what has happened to them, then we will have a very difficult time targeting resources at the problem. We need to know better how many of these occur, where they occur, what can be done to assist the community, and ultimately what can be done to prevent these crimes from happening in the first place. So it's an ambitious program, but we're focused now on law enforcement trainings regionally around the country, and working in partnership with other organizations to try and get a handle on this crisis that faces our community, and particularly the trans community. In recent years, some of the most depraved and violent hate crimes that have ever happened have unfortunately been targeted at trans persons. So that's what we do, and then what we do better than almost any of the above is send Judy and Dennis Shepard out around the country and around the world to talk to audiences like yourselves in workplaces, in community settings, at colleges and universities, high schools, increasingly these days getting down into the middle schools, which I think is really a step forward in our work. And the story they tell about their personal experience has proven very moving to millions of people and helped them decide to be a part of the solution. So the man who needs really no further introduction, Dennis Shepard.
So I stay on time, I better take off my watch. Judy hates it when she's not here because I talk too much. She apologizes that she can't be here. She's on her way to Boston to talk to the Boston Police Department. And then she goes to Notre Dame. She's been here several times. I feel quite honored that this symposium is named after Matt, because he truly believed in social justice. After his experiences overseas, I was living and working in Saudi Arabia. I was there for 17 years. And Matt got to see how the other half live. The ones who are there making maybe $1 a day to send home to their families. Saw how they're treated. Saw the laws that don't protect them. And he wanted to be one of those that went out into the world to help protect those who couldn't protect themselves. He wanted to be a diplomat. He wanted to work for the State Department overseas. He spoke 5 languages. Not very good English, but he did speak English. German, Italian, Arabic, Japanese, and he was taking French here when he died. Now, in 1998, it was a different time. Judy and I didn't know much about the gay community. We didn't know much about what they were going through, how they were treated, the lack of equal rights. All we knew is that Matt was our son. Things have changed dramatically. Some say it's because of his death. It brought a focus to the unequal treatment for not just LGBT, not just LGBTQ, but also LGBTQA, the allies, the fringe kids. the ones who can't walk and chew gum, the ones who dress a little different, the ones who are perceived to be gay, the ones who are perceived to be an immigrant, the ones who are perceived to be non-Christian, whoever it was. At that time, when I had these notes, but I don't know if I'll ever use them. The way Matt came out to us, Judy's very bitter about it. Because he called her at 5 in the morning because, as she says, he couldn't do math. He couldn't figure out time zones. So he called her and said, "Mom, I got something to tell you. I'm gay." And she said, "What took you so long to tell me?" And then they proceeded to have a discussion, and she promised Matt that she would not tell me, that he wanted to tell me himself. But as all mothers do, she lied. She told me so that when he told me, I wouldn't say or do something to hurt him. Just subconsciously. Then he told Logan, his other brother, and then he told me in person. That's why Judy's bitter. She gets a phone call, we get it in person. So when he came out to me, we were at a family reunion in August of '98, a couple of months before Matt died. And we were at the family reunion, and he said, "Dad, I have something really important I have to tell you." I said, "Well, we have this reunion." She said, "I got to tell you." I said, "Okay, afterwards, when everybody goes to bed." So we go into the kitchen. He says, "Dad, you need to sit down." I said, it's pretty late. He said, "Dad, you got to sit down." So I sat down. He said, "Dad, I'm gay." I said, "That's nice, but it's late. Can I go to bed now?" And his face, the fear that he had that I was going to say or do something, being a lover of the theater and having been involved in so many of the plays, I can imagine that his idea was I would yell and scream, take and throw him through the door, and the next time you saw him, it would be in a blizzard pushing his shopping cart. He was our son. Straight or gay, it didn't matter. And to look back on that, I think of the fear that he had and the lack of fear that a lot of the young people have today. It's heart-rending to think that you're so afraid to be yourself. You're so afraid to strive to be the best because you have to spend half of your life and half of your energy and effort to hide who you are. I just couldn't understand it then. I can't understand it now. We have so many young people, straight or gay, it doesn't matter, who want to come out in a different way for their own personal benefit. They have issues, and they want help, and they can't go to their parents. How do you not be there for your kids? Now, when Matt came out, I was pretty upset because I wanted grandkids. My father taught me to hunt, fish, camp, love the great outdoors. And he and I taught the boys to do that. And I wanted to be the grandfather and be able to do that to grandkids. And I thought, well, Matt's never have kids. And then I thought, how selfish are you? You still have Matt. You can still make memories. Look at all the families who have lost a child through sickness, through car accidents, through war. They'll never get him back. All they have are those memories. I can still make new ones. And then I got to thinking, with today's medicine, I can still have grandkids. There's adoption, there's in vitro, there's all kinds of things. And then I thought, you know, there's a bonus. I can have 2 bachelor parties. So to go from there, where everybody's in fear, to today, where young people are more comfortable with themselves, more comfortable with their friends, and their friends are more comfortable with them. Young people today, for the most part, do not care. They do not care because it's not important. Now, we see a lot of turmoil going on right now with the upcoming elections. We've seen a lot of turmoil since same-sex marriage was legalized. We see the religious liberty laws being brought forth. 7 states have rejected it. 7 states have either accepted it or have it in legislation right now. What are they holding on to? They're wasting time putting laws into effect that all of you young people will have to waste time taking back off the books because you don't care. There are more important things. How do I pay for college? How do I get a job? What about the wars that we're in? What about our national debt? I want to have a family. I want a career. Who cares who's holding whose hand? Who's sleeping with whom? It's nobody's business. I find it disturbing that they talk about gay rights. Let's clarify that right now. There is no such thing as gay rights. What we're talking about are equal rights. Gay rights is a buzzword to get people upset. They're getting something special. Let me give you a perfect example. We were blessed with 2 boys. Matt, who is gay, and his younger brother Logan, who is straight. So let's imagine that Matt is still alive, because they had plans to be roommates here on campus. So if he's alive, the changes that have occurred will not have occurred because there's no focus on the gay community and what's happening to them. So you have Matt and you have Logan. Matt goes down the street holding another man's hand. He gets beat up, if not murdered. Logan goes down the street holding his girlfriend's hand. They come up and congratulate him, say, "That's a good-looking girl you're dating." Matt wants to join the military. He can't because he's gay. Because he'll probably be a communist and betray the country. Logan wants to join the military. He's a patriot. They can't do enough for him. Matt wants to get married. It's illegal. Logan wants to get married. Everybody wants to come to the bachelor party and to the wedding, and they can't wait for it to happen. Matt gets married and wants to put his husband on insurance. He can't do it because it's illegal. Logan puts his wife on insurance. Fine. Do you want more insurance? Do you want dental? Matt has his boyfriend's picture in his office on his desk. Who's that? Oh, that's my favorite cousin. Logan has his girlfriend's picture on his desk. They say, who is that? Oh, that's my girlfriend. Well, she's gorgeous. When can I meet her? Matt lives with his boyfriend for 30 years. His boyfriend goes in the hospital, an emergency, heart attack. He can't go visit. He has no visiting rights. Logan's wife goes in the hospital. He's right there. They can't stop him. Matt and his boyfriend or husband, they went to adopt. Not going to happen. You're gay. Matt and his wife, oh yeah, that's really wonderful that you want to do that. That's just wonderful that you are so open-minded and open-hearted to help these kids. Matt makes $50,000 a year. Logan makes $50,000 a year. Matt was born in Casper, Wyoming. Logan was born in Casper, Wyoming. Matt pays Wyoming taxes and federal taxes. Logan pays Wyoming taxes and federal taxes, the same amount. So why is it that this son is not equal to this son? They're American citizens. American citizens. Equal rights, not gay rights, equal rights. To love and be loved, to marry, to adopt, to have a career, to die of old age with a smile on your face, without having to focus half of your life on who's behind you. Are they going to beat me? Are they going to vandalize my property? Are they going to fire me because I'm gay or because I married somebody who's gay and I want to put them on my insurance? 29 states, you can still be fired for being gay. And Wyoming is one of them. 30 states, you can be fired for being transgender. 5 states have no hate crime law whatsoever. Wyoming is blessed because they're in with the southern states, Arkansas, Georgia, South Carolina, and Indiana, the 4 most homophobic states in the country. Where is the equality? It's up to you young people to change this. And there are several ways of doing it. 1, you accept them as equals because they are. 2, you accept their differences because everyone in here is different. You're tall, you're short, you have dark hair, you have light hair, you have blue eyes, you have brown eyes. It doesn't matter. You dress different, you speak different, you have different experiences. You are all different. We should be celebrating that, not discouraging it. We should be supporting the fact that every one of us is different. You can also do this by telling stories. You tell your story. If you're straight, it doesn't matter. You tell all about yourself. The LGBTQ. Tell your story. You're normal. You're just... Being gay is not a choice. And you need to understand that and make other people understand that. Yeah, I want to be gay today. I want to go out. I want to be fired from my job. I want to be possibly beaten. I want to have my property vandalized. I want to be shunned. Sounds like a fun day. Let's do that today. And you don't know who is straight and who is gay. It could be your barber, your beautician. It could be somebody on your intramural team. It could be somebody sitting next to you in class. You just don't know, and why should you care? Why should you care? Now, when Matt died, we had a choice. We could go back to Saudi Arabia and say we have one son and we're proud of him, or we could have a dysfunctional marriage and that's what we decided to do. So for the next 12 years, I stayed in Saudi Arabia by myself, coming home 30 days a year. Judy stayed here because she said, I have 2 sons, and I'm proud of both of them. And I want other families to be proud of their kids. I want them to support and encourage. I want them to give them a hug and tell them, I love you. No matter what you do, who you are mine forever. And at that time, she started working on legislation. He says the 2 most god-awful things in the world are trying to get legislation passed and making sausage. It took her 10 years. They told her, we've been trying for 30 years. You'll never get it passed. On October 29, 2009, President Obama signed the Matthew Shepard, James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act, the first legislation federally that gave rights to and protected the rights of the gay community instead of taking rights away. Now, when this happened, we knew we had to wait. We knew we had 8 years of darkness under the Darth Vader of the Republican Party, President Bush. So we knew we had to wait till we had somebody in there who actually believed in social issues and social justice. Just like this symposium. When the sky didn't fall and the world did not come to an end, as they predicted, all the naysayers, that was the first domino. And that domino tipped the next one over. Don't ask, don't tell. Isn't it amazing how the military did not collapse and we were not invaded by all those gay-loving people to protect them? We still have our country, we still have our reputation, and we have a lot more patriots who are serving the military, who want to serve our country. And then we made a mistake. The next domino that was supposed to fall was INDA. Well, it was DOMA, which is INDA, Defense of Marriage Act, getting rid of discrimination on the job and everywhere else. But for some reason, we kind of hopscotched over that into marriage. And again, when that happened, the sky did not fall. We were not invaded. Our economy did not collapse. And here we are. Now we're trying to get into the Employment Non-Discrimination Act passed and signed. It had passed the Senate, but Boehner would not bring it up in the House because they knew they had the votes to pass it. So now we have to start over. In the meantime, you have these states trying to get the religious liberties passed. My personal belief is they are in fear of something that they have no reason to fear. This will not cause them to lose their religion. This will not cause them to lose their belief in whatever God they believe in. It just gives equal access to everyone. And it is your job, and I task you with it, to get this passed. Two other terms that I'd like to bring up right now. Well, three. Hate, which is basically fear of anything that does not meet your standards, that you're afraid will change you. Tolerance, we hear that all the time. Tolerance is a good thing. Well, it's a good thing if you're going from hate, but what you should be going to is acceptance, not tolerance. Judy tolerates a bad hair day, but she does not accept it. So, for all of you, I think it's important that you remember these terms: acceptance, equal rights. To go along with that, what you've seen in this movement, and it's a lot of our allies, the young people support and believe in the equal rights. You see that in the, what do you want to call it? The attempt to become president on both sides. The Republicans, I'm sorry, I have to get in a little political, and I hate to do that, but they want to take rights away from American citizens. The Democrats want to keep those rights and make sure they are full rights. But regardless of whether you are Republican or Democrat, the most important thing is that you vote. And that you vote for those candidates that believe in what you believe in. And if they don't follow through, you get them out of office. You vote them out. Right now, the biggest welfare class that we have is called Congress. They work less than 160 days a year. They have outrageous salaries and benefits. They have a lot more vacation than anybody, even students have. And they do nothing. Well, 62 times they tried to vote, the House has tried to vote out Obamacare. We need do something Congress, not a do nothing Congress. And it's up to you to make sure that happens. Never give up the right to vote. It's a privilege. Even in Saudi Arabia, I voted in every election in Casper. And it's up to you to do the same. You are blessed to be in this country. You are blessed to have the rights, and you are blessed to be able to give your opinion. But that will not happen if you do not vote. Matt wanted to be a diplomat. At that time, that would have been impossible. Today we have 6 gay ambassadors because President Obama believes in the quality of the person, not the quality of I should say, it's what they do, not who they are. You should do the same thing. It's up to you. When people start denigrating somebody, straight or gay, say, stop it. You're no different than they are. You're no better than they are. Accept them for who they are. It's amazing what will happen. Now, before I stop, I want to open this up for Q&A if anybody has any questions. But if you have friends or family who have concerns or questions, whether they're straight or gay, as Jason mentioned, go to our websites, especially matthewsplace.com. It has lots of information, and we're always asking for more input to make it better, to get more resources, whatever it may be. We are there to help you and to help your friends and your family. We are not guidance counselors or any kind of counselors. We will help get you to the right people. For example, the Trevor Project, if you have, we've had young people contact us or their friends and we think so-and-so is depressed and thinking of suicide, so we get them in touch with the Trevor Project. But we are there, and we want to help, and we want you to succeed. No matter what you do, you should succeed or fail based on your own abilities, your own desires to work hard, and the decisions that you make in life, not because of who you are, how you dress, how you speak, what country you come from, what religion you have, what your sexual orientation is, what your gender might be. Who cares? Again, thank you so much for inviting me here. I feel honored to be here in Matt's name. So, any questions? Anybody have a question? Oh, wonderful. Otherwise, I was going to do like Judy does. She's a former teacher. She said, if I have no questions, then I have a written test for you.
I was wondering, you said that your organization talks with law enforcement, and I just wondered, what does that look like? What would be your goal, besides just telling them the story that you've told us? What is the goal with educating law enforcement? What are you hoping to have happen?
When we talk about working with law enforcement, we have several objectives behind that. One is to tell our story so that law enforcement realizes the impact that this has, not just on the victim, but the victim's family and the ripple effect. Number two, it puts a face to these crimes, whatever they might be, and it gives them a little bit more incentive to understand and go out into that community if they have problems and be there as a mentor, whether it's because of nationality or religion or orientation, that they are there and that people understand that law enforcement is there for their benefit and they're there to help. They are a godsend. Did I answer your question? Thank you so much for the question. Anybody else?
It's such an honor to have you here. Thank you so much. When Matt was killed, I lived in Chicago. I thought it was a horrible thing. I was getting my PhD, and I never imagined that I would end up living in Laramie. And, you know, it was easy to be in Chicago and say, oh, there, you know, that's this place out there. That's, I mean, I grew up in Utah. I've grown up in rural places. But now that I'm here, I've been a professor here for 8 years, I grapple with talking to students about Matt's memory. You know, I'm invested in the symposium. Obviously, I co-chair the symposium. This is maybe a hard question to ask you. I grapple with this. My students now, we're almost a generation out. It's hard to believe, right? Students I have in my classrooms were toddlers are not born yet. And many become defensive because they feel like that's what Laramie's remembered. And when we ask them to remember again and we continue to evoke the memory, it isn't an attack. You know, it's a reality. It's a place. Hate happens everywhere. All of these conversations, we can have all of these conversations. I guess I grapple with this, and I'm not formulating my question very well. I wonder how you would help me grapple with that as I talk to my students here in Wyoming, to love Wyoming, to love where they're from, and to grapple with this, and not in a way that says, let's not talk about that anymore because it's a bad memory for all of all of us. You know, that defensiveness.
It is a bad memory, but
Yes.
good memories have come from it. Even though this state still has no hate crime law, because they said every crime is a hate crime, which is not true. A hate crime terrorizes a certain community of people. For example, when Matt died, there were students and professors who quit and left Laramie. If I go into a bank and I shoot a bank teller, all the bank tellers in the state they're not in fear of their life. That's not a hate crime. A hate crime, when you do something, it's to put fear into that local community of people, whether it might be the Jewish, they might be African American, it could be anything, but it's a hate crime because they do something intentionally to put fear into more than one person. Now, as far as here, it's been a problem because, like you said, the younger people have no idea who Matt is. So it's a learning curve. For example, it's the same thing that the African Americans are going through because they forgot about the race riots, Selma, the bombing that killed the schoolgirls. And they have freedoms that are on the shoulders of all these people before them. Dr. King, Representative Lewis, John Lewis. It's the same thing for the LGBTQ community. They are on the shoulders of Matt. He's on the shoulders of Harvey Milk. Harvey Milk is on the shoulders of Stonewall. So this has to be brought up again and educated because that was a turning point. Matt's death was a turning point in this country and the world because of that, equal rights in the gay community are being found everywhere now. This weekend, you have 4 high schools here from Wyoming. Some of them are just starting a GSA, which is amazing. But you need to tell your students that, yes, that was a bad thing, and you need to bring it up because that was a turning point in world politics, and it continues to be. No matter where we've been to 20 countries. We're going to Lithuania in June, again, for the State Department. When we go to these places, we've been to Taiwan, Singapore, Israel, Russia. They all know Matt's story because they can relate. Because it's the kid next door. He is the one who everybody can relate to him. And your students need to know that here in Laramie, they've adopted non-discrimination, everything else that has not happened anywhere else in the state. They should be proud of the fact. Not everybody in Wyoming is a hater. They need to understand that. McKinney and Henderson were taught to hate. They weren't born hating. They learned it from their family. They learned it from their friends. They learned it from the media. They learned from everybody else. They learned it from the law enforcement. Because at that time, when something happened in the gay community, they said, oh, who cares, another fag, whether it's vandalism or beating, whatever. So it encouraged more of the same. So it became open season, no harm, no foul. They thought they'd be heroes. They made a big mistake in Laramie. And so you need to just emphasize that this is a historical moment. I say that because people have told me that. And I see all these books where they talk about Matt. You've got 4 movies. You've got 2 plays. I don't know how many books. And now there's a big musical that's just been written. It's beautiful. About Matt, about his journal and certain things. But all of that ties in. If you haven't seen the Laramie Project, you can see, if you haven't seen the play, they have the movie, HBO. There's a second play, the 10 years later, where they came back to Laramie. Some attitudes had changed, some hadn't. There's a new documentary called Matt Shepard is a Friend of Mine. Show that.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's won every award around the world in film festivals. You can get it on Netflix. And there were the people who produced it. One of them was Matt's schoolmate in Switzerland. He had to go to school in Switzerland. There were no high schools in Saudi Arabia for Westerners. And they're coming out with an educational part of that to help educate young people. So all this blends in. They should, in a way, they should actually be thrilled to be here because they're at the focal point where history started that changed this country. And you see it through Don't Ask, Don't Tell, through marriage and trying to get into past. They're blessed to have you and to bring it up and talk about it. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Or did I confuse
It's just,
you
no,
more?
it's wonderful to hear you frame that whole thing. I actually just imagined a perfect freshman seminar as you were speaking, so thank you very
Perfect.
much.
I'm happy to come down, or Judy. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
The Mormon Church last fall came out with a new policy toward families that had parents who were gay and whether their children were allowed to advance in the priesthood and how people of that faith would be treated if a family member or they came out as gay. I know that there's nothing that we can do legislatively to change that, but what would you suggest that we do as people to change policies like that?
Well, again, it comes down to the young people. They're the ones who will be making these changes because they will be more. It's just like when Matt died. The young people at that time, they were anywhere from 10 to 25. They've had their careers. They're moving up into middle and upper management. When they do that, they were activists, and they take that activism with them, and they are changing policies within the companies and within the country. And this is still going to happen because you're seeing that even the Catholic Church and the Mormon Church, the two who are most opposed, are now changing. They haven't accepted, but they're accepting a little bit more. You might call it tolerance and not acceptance, but they've moved away from that other level. Now, a quick story about that. When the hate crime bill was sponsored, it's amazing. The two people who sponsored it, you had a Western conservative senator, Mormon from Oregon, Gordon Smith, and a liberal Eastern Catholic senator from Massachusetts, Ted Kennedy, sponsored the bill because they said, we don't personally believe in it, but this is better. We're not putting our own beliefs into this. This is what's good for the country. We're worried more about the country than we are ourselves. You don't see that today. If you had a triangle with 3 levels, and you start with the top and go down. When this country was founded, the top triangle piece from the founders, what's good for my country? The second level was what's good for my state. The third level is what's good for me. That triangle is now this way. But you have to keep putting pressure, and again, tell your stories. Tell your stories. It makes you more commonplace, and people realize you're just out there, you just want to do your thing, you're not bother anybody, and all you want to do is have a happy life and career. I hope that answers your question. That's about the best we can do. Thank you. Any other?
Other questions?
Thank you so very much. Again, I'm very honored to be here for the first time. And I hope you really enjoyed this symposium, and it continues to be the success it is. Thank you.
Thank you so much.